Hey everyone,
Anyway,
welcome to the Hume Scope podcast, Roles and Lols. For those of you who don't know Hume Scope, we're a recruitment training business based in Australia, and to date we have trained thousands of recruiters across Oz, New Zealand, and a bit of Europe.
this is going to be a 10-minute quick tips and tricks with hopefully some laughs along the way for agency recruiters.
Yeah, hopefully you enjoy, and if you ever have any topics you'd like us to cover in the poddy, please shout out. Otherwise, you'll see us every week on a Friday for 10-minute episodes. Hopefully you enjoy.
See ya.
Hello, team. Welcome back to the poddy.
Yeah.
We're trialing a new camera setup. We're trying to get fancy.
New camera setup and with kind of in a new office. This is the first time we've faced each other in years.
I know. We're normally side by side, but
Finally, I
here
have
we
some privacy back. Don't have a micromanager over my shoulder breathing down my neck.
go. Well, team, welcome to this week's
Welcome.
poddy app. What we wanted to chat through today is something that has come up quite a bit with a lot of our members and consultants specifically, where they're seeing a drop in either candidate acceptance rate or candidates falling through parts of the process once they've got an interview, or clients rejecting candidates, going, we probably want to see a few more. Like all of these things that are happening in our space at the moment
Yeah.
usually are indicative of a lack of prep and or I hate to say it, but it's candidate control.
Yeah, and well, it's the candidate control process, and
Yeah.
and often what I feel like we can be doing as consultants is looking into the mind of the candidate versus seeing ourselves from the mind of the recruiter. We can get so caught up in we've got so many jobs on and so many KPIs that we have to do, and oh my god, we do these calls, that a lot of the parts of the process become transactional when really we need to be consultative and really be on side with our candidates to boost them up and give them better opportunities at accepting the role. And one of the biggest parts of that is how we prep a candidate for an interview.
It's honestly the part that baffles me the most when we hear people go, oh yeah, I prep my candidates, and you delve in a little and go, tell me about your prep process. And they're like, oh, we've got a really great templated email that we send them, and then I give them a call for a couple of minutes, just making sure they've got the email and they've done their research.
And they're on their way.
And
So
they're
they're
on
not
their
gonna be
way.
late.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
holy moly, that's not enough.
Yeah.
And maybe I think certainly from what I've seen as to why people don't spend time on this part, they see it as, oh, boring admin part, they've got the email, let's move on, like you said, the transactional side.
And it's not a KPI'd activity. Like
yeah.
getting someone booked in for an interview is KPI'd.
Yeah.
Having someone interview is KPI'd,
Yeah.
generating feedback so you know, is there going to be another
Yeah.
interview? That's KPI. Prepping a candidate is not. So
And
it's
people
often
go,
just
it's not high value. And the
No.
issue is, because in the past, and I'm not saying this is the case for everyone listening, but if you have been someone who's historically put forward 7 candidates, they've all interviewed,
Yeah.
and one gets the job eventually, then you're probably going to go, I don't have time to prep 7 candidates. But the beauty of prepping a candidate and doing it well is you then don't have to do volume. You prep a small number of candidates really fucking well. Their chances of getting those jobs are much greater, which means you actually save so much time because
Yeah.
they've got a high chance of getting the role. And then you're not having to resource and re-prep other people. You do that part of the job really well. And
Yeah.
at that stage, you've already done so much work to get that candidate in front of the client.
Yeah.
So why are we not doing at least half an hour, if not 45 minutes?
Yeah.
Zoom calls, meetings, just to make sure the candidate is across what is going to happen and giving them, I'd say it's the confidence.
Yeah, and we talked about it in one of the workshops we ran with our membership, which was how you stand out from the crowd. And one of those things is, for me, is being that consultant versus the transactional recruiter. And by doing that, you're also increasing their confidence. You're giving them a better chance. Your clients are impressed, and the amount of referrals that I would get from actually giving this consultant my undivided attention and giving them the best chance, every single time they would get back in contact with me and be like, I have never had a conversation like that with a recruiter ever.
Yeah.
My idea of what a recruiter is versus what you have given me is so much more. And what comes from there? Referrals. They get placed. Their experience is really high.
Yeah.
You get testimonies. They talk about recruiters or me as my service being greater. And all it was a conversation.
Yeah. And your clients go, fuck, as is, or Lucy's candidates are always so fucking good.
Yeah.
That's what we need from our clients to go, shit, their candidates are really, really good. They know exactly what they're talking about. They can confidently pitch who they are, what they do. They know enough about our business, what we're looking for. These are the things that your clients are looking for. And these are the things and the reasons as to why you can then start to get exclusivity, retained work from your clients. But if all you're doing is the same as everyone else, then don't expect a different result.
Exactly. My process, and it'll be interesting to see if it would be different or if there was things that you did or that you would add in. What I was taught to do in the early days was confirm the time with the candidate and the client, send out the email, give them a call or a text the day before to say, good luck, here's who you're meeting, all the best, see how you go. What I would do in my later years of recruitment, and the only way I would do it now, is once the time is confirmed, I would call the client and confirm who it's with, what level they're at, where the setting it's going to be in, if it's in the office, if it's going to be formal, informal, more of a conversation, what are some key parts that they need to go up. I would also tell the client key parts of the candidate, like projects or things that they've been involved in, to ask questions about so that they have an idea of where their strengths are. Then when I speak to the candidate, I would give them a call, confirm that verbally, would let them know I'm going to send them a very detailed email with everything that they need to know. It may look overwhelming, but we're going to book in some time to go through it all together. And it would need to be at least 24 hours before, hopefully, before the interview. Within the email, it's all of the dates, time, setting, who they're meeting. But then I would go through examples of questions, go through their CV, what parts through my interview with my candidate did they do really well, and what parts do I recommend that they speak in detail about, and go through like a role play with them of how they should speak about that. Because candidates probably interview, 4 or 5 times in like a 5-10 year period. We interview or are involved in an interview process a million times, like a year. So we know what's going to work and what isn't. Then once I have that time booked in, I would be calling them, whether it's Zoom or a call, or in person would even be better, and actually go through all of the details so they feel incredibly prepared and even overly prepared. You'd way rather have them overly prepared and know exactly what to talk about before going into the interview.
100%. Very, very similar. I would do pretty much all of that. And I think there's some key... And I would do it better. No, it's pretty much exactly the same process. I think there's a few key things to highlight there that most people, I don't believe, do well, if at all, which is prep your client. Your clients are not aware of how to actually interview, and at this stage of the process, you're the person with the most information. You know the candidate, you know their drivers, you know why they're interested in the role, you know the client, you know why they might be interested in this candidate, what they're trying to achieve. So it is your job to consult to both parties and go, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Client, look, Lucy's going to be meeting with you, just giving you a bit of a heads up. Like, she's an amazing candidate. Often we find with candidates like this, they will typically have 3 to 4 processes on the go. I want to make sure that you've got the best possible chance of securing her if and when we get to an offer. So I just want to prep you on a few things. You guys are amazing at this. When I spoke to Lisa at her interview, she was so interested in this because her current company does not and will never offer this. So make sure you bring that into conversation. Part 2, why Lucy was super stoked when I spoke to her about this role, she was really keen on this development piece and developing into a leader. I remember you mentioned that blah, blah, blah had progressed into a leader. So maybe tell that story in the interview as to how you guys develop people when they join you, because I know that will be a real
examples.
that'd be a real clinch of loose.
Yeah.
So educating the client, and the exact same with the candidate, educating the candidate.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned that, as you said, how you prep your candidates, referring back to their interview with you, like you did that part really well, but I remember I had to sort of press you for that example. Do you remember, Liz? So make sure you bring that up in conversation, because examples speak volumes, and that one will be really will hit home for the client, because remember I told you they're really looking for XYZ in this role.
Yeah.
So kind of joining the dots
It's coaching,
for...
isn't it?
Yeah,
Coaching
and it's
both.
joining the dots for both
Yeah.
people, because no one is good at interviews. No one really presents themselves in the best possible way, because there is nerves, there's anxiety, they've not been educated enough in terms of the interview process and why things matter. And so it's our job as the expert and the consultant to actually help both parties, because we'll get to the end result a lot quicker and a better result.
Yeah.
Like how often do you have, or any of our listeners, how often have you had a candidate that you were like, they are the perfect candidate for this role, and they go for interview and the client goes, oh, I didn't really see it. And you're like, what?
How?
It's like, fuck, someone's fucked up here.
It's probably me.
And it's probably because I didn't prep both parties well enough. The client didn't really know what questions to ask, bring out this candidate's experience. Didn't prep the candidate enough, so they were a bit nervous and sort of fumbled through the questions and answers. And so neither party really represented themselves well. But when you met with both parties, they did a really good job explaining, and you've matched it really well, but the interview process has fallen over, which means you have to go back to your search process and do all that work again.
Vague is grey, and being grey, like you're going to get grey results. So there's just these little things that you can add into your process, which they don't change or revolutionize what we're already doing. It's literally just speaking the truth of what an interview is for a candidate and for a client, and how you can bring that to life for both of them, so they both get the result that they want. And the reward is that you look like a legend, which you are.
Honestly, and it's no more info, it's just releasing what's in here. You've got so much information in here about both parties.
And I think we forget that as recruiters, that we know so much, and prepping for a candidate is really where we can shine through and step out of that recruitment mindset and more into that consultative. And that's where our value is, being a consultant, not the process. That's basic. Anyone can do that. We can teach that time and time again, but it takes a certain type of person and mindset and EQ to be able to join the dots together.
Love it. Okay, so track what you're currently doing and what your ratios are from interview to placement. And if you do this well, I can guarantee, this will increase that ratio for you and will make you a lot more money, and you'll get to the end result a lot quicker, and your clients will be happier, your candidates will be happier. So please try it, let us know how it goes.
I would say as well, if there's anyone that is listening that is thinking, oh, what the hell, we do not do that, and I would like some more information, then we do have some bits and pieces or templates that we can run through with you. So give us a shout.
See you next time.
See ya.